I'm giving you a first look at the all-new Kato N-scale SD70M with flat radiators on Ron's Trains and Things right now. Hi, I'm Ron of Ron's Trains and Things, and if you'd like to see more model railroad tips, tools, and techniques, then be sure to subscribe down below and click that little bell icon so you can catch future videos. Today, I am very excited to bring you a first look and a review of the all-new Kato N-scale SD70M with flat radiators. Now, this is an exciting locomotive for me because in kind of the heyday of my rail fanning, from when I had kind of gotten out of it as a teenager but gotten back into it as a young adult, in the 90s, the early 2000s, these were some of the locomotives that I came to see and expect to see on the rails most, especially as I was rail fanning along the Union Pacific right-of-ways, which I did quite a bit in that time. That SD70 series with the SD70M, also the SD70 Max, were very common at the time, and I viewed and photographed a lot of them. So it's exciting for me to show you this particular locomotive, as Kato has just come out with these great looking locomotives. Now, the SD70 series debuted in 1992. It originally had the narrow-nosed Spartan cab, but very quickly came to have the wide-nosed M designation in compliance with the North American safety cab, which gave greater safety in head-on collisions and also gave greater creature comfort to the crews with more room and headspace in the nose of the locomotive. These flat radiator versions were the pre-2000 version. From 2000 on, the SD70M had a flared radiator similar to the old SD45s in order to allow for more space for the radiators, to allow compliance for then Tier 1 emission standards. So these are the early version, the pre-2000 flat radiator locomotives that we're looking at today. It's an all-new design from Kato, and I'm very excited that they have come out with it. Now, as we go take a look at these, we're going to get them out of the box, take a look at the details, see them run on my layout. But you need to know that the units I'm looking at today were the samples provided to Model Railroad News for review, and I wrote a full review of these locomotives in detail, and you can find that in the April issue of Model Railroad News. You'll want to be sure and pick that up. So with all that said, let's head on over to the workbench. We'll get these opened up, take a look at them. Going to be installing a decoder in one of them so I can run it on my layout, as these are DC versions. But let's go get started. Visit our sponsor, Midwest Model Railroad. Their new location with 5,500 square feet of inventory and next-day shipping make them your premier model railroad destination. MidwestModelRR.com. Link in the description. I want to take just a quick look at these. Not going to spend a lot of time. I'd like to spend more time with them out on the layout than anything else. But I'll show you here. This is the one I'm more specifically interested in because this one fits in the scheme of my layout, as it's a Union Pacific, and I have an interchange with the Union Pacific on my layout. So we're going to go ahead and pull this one out of the box. And they come, Kato typically these days puts these little spacers on the bottom of the fuel tank that you just kind of pop off. Those just help hold them tightly in place in the box while they are in shipping. I do want to mention that inside the box there is a little package that has the trip pins for the couplers. These says Kato couplers, which are the Kato knuckle couplers. Not ideal in my personal opinion. They don't play real well with other couplers, but they do function. And if you'd like the trip pins added to simulate also the train line hoses, they're provided separately in the box for you to apply yourself. I'm going to go ahead and just pull both these out just so you can see them both. The other one I have here is a Norfolk Southern model. And I'm not a Norfolk Southern guy as far as modeling is concerned. But this black and white paint scheme of theirs does tend to really pop. That can look really, really nice. Gonna grab my cradle and bring down here, and I think we'll start with the Norfolk Southern model. Just get it up here and let you take a good close look at it. And again, you can see the general details, kind of what we expect have come to expect from Kato as N-scalers. Nice level of detail, not the super high end, incredible detail of some newer manufacturers, but for the general modeler, in some ways this is met better. If you are really focused on operations and you handle your models, a fair amount, this has a nice level of detail without having a lot of unbelievably delicate things that are really easy to break. So it kind of strikes a nice balance there. But great looking locomotives, nice crisp paint. You can see some of the warning labels and decals on them, which are correct and legible. Nice looking and nice delicate, handrails and truck side details, and then also details piping and conduit underneath the skirting. Turn it around here to the other side so you can see as well. Got the inset brake wheel on the engineer side. Just a nice general locomotive as far as that's concerned. I'll give you a better look at the front end details and those things when we get it out on the layout. I'm going to set the Norfolk Southern aside, flip this Union Pacific one up here, and let you take a look at it. It's got this nice white striping, which I think is a version of some safety striping on this Union Pacific locomotive. And again, lots of the safety warning labels and the grills on these. They're not like a full see-through kind of a grill, but they have a nice detail to them. And if you look at the roof, the fans, they're not technically see-through fans in that you don't see all the way through them, but the tops of the grates are see-through. You can actually see the fan blades down inside, which is a nice detail. They have lift rings and bolt detail, which is molded on, but it looks nice. And for N-scale, I have added lift ring detail, but it is so tiny that it doesn't make a lot of difference as opposed to the molded on. Grab irons, of course, really do. They stand out when they are separately applied. Anyway, just very nice looking locomotives. And these are a locomotive. I'm glad to have the Union Pacific because, again, it interchanges on my layout. I like the SD70M, but BNSF didn't have SD70Ms. They had their AC brothers, the SD70 Max, but the SD70Ms, especially these flat radiator ones, were not a thing on BNSF. So it's nice for me to have one in Union Pacific. But anyway, with that said, I want to get this ready to run. Now, these are DC models, so we're going to take a look under the hood, and at the same time, we're going to install a drop-in decoder in this locomotive. Under the hood, again, kind of your typical, just kind of wiggle the shell until it comes loose from the chassis. This is your kind of your standard split frame design, split right down the middle. A couple of screws that hold it together. It has pickups, all-wheel pickup with the pickup strips that connect it to the frame. Electricity flows through from the frame through the light board down these clips in the side to connect to the motor. This is just a light board, but we're going to put a motor decoder in this today, and the one we're going to use is, this is one of the ones that's actually recommended by Kato. This is the Digitrax DN163K1D, and this is not a sound decoder, just a motor decoder, but we're going to get that in today. First thing we want to do is this is slipped underneath some clips that are part of the frame, so we're going to dislodge this one simply by slipping it backwards out of the frame. Sometimes you have to loosen the frame to do this. We'll see if I do today. I may also want to get a screwdriver just to get a little bit of pressure on it. There we go. I'm just going to use the screwdriver, just kind of force it to slide back out of those clips. Still not quite all the way back. There we go. And you see just like that, the back is popped loose. Pull it on out of the front. And there. That is the light board as it comes out. Now, as I bring in my new decoder, you can see how it matches up and how it fits in just like this. But the one thing I have to do on this one is this does not come with the clips that actually connect to the motor tabs. So I have to remove those off of the light board and put those onto this decoder. I didn't realize that until just now. It doesn't matter, it's not a huge deal. But I'm going to have to get the soldering iron out to unsolder these clips from here and get them soldered onto the new decoder. It's interesting because as I read the Digitrax manual for this decoder, these clips are actually designed to fit on and hold on with just a spring action with the clip that fits underneath the board and on top. But in this case, they've been soldered in place. So I need to unsolder these, and then I'll have to decide whether I want to solder them onto the existing board or just allow the friction feed to hold them in place. But for now, I'm going to come in and apply some heat and unsolder these from the existing light board. I'm using just a very fine soldering tip. Just use a little, there we go, shine it up a little bit there, it'll transfer heat better. And just apply heat. I see it's smoking there. It should give me enough to pop that off here. There it goes. Okay, there's that one. And we'll come in and do the same with the other one. There it goes. All right, there we go. And I'm going to take that and put it in the box and hold on to it in case I ever need it. Now, these actually have some little clips here. And they're actually designed to fit just by friction onto these two little electrical soldering pads here. And if I can get them to go on and stay in place, I think I'll do this without soldering them. But if they're not going to stay in place, then I'll come back and solder them in. But that looks like it's going to stay. I think I'm going to install these like this and do them without soldering. And then if I have a problem with them because of the pressure that's on them inside of the locomotive, the shell should actually hold them tight against the motor pickups, and that should be good. We're going to install it and see what it does. Now, installing these is a little bit tricky because you've got these little kind of springy motor pickups, and the one on one side points down. That's the easy one. The one on the other side points up, and you got to kind of work to get those tucked underneath these little pickups or these little contacts that I just put in here. But first, I'm going to take the board. I want to put the front end down inside of these clips that hold it in place. Going to slide it forward just a little bit. Going to hold that motor pickup that I was just talking about inside to make sure it fits inside of the inside of those clips that we just installed. And then we want to kind of push this forward. And there's a little clip on the frame down here, just like the one on the front, that kind of holds it in place. And I want to slide it so that, there we go, so it slides up into that slot. And there it is. It is installed and should be ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and put the shell back on this locomotive. Slips right on, snaps in place. And we are ready to take this out and give it a test run on the layout and let you see it in action. Here we have Union Pacific number 4000 out on the layout, and I wanted you to get a look at it now that it's under power before we start to move. Notice on the front the lights, the headlights got a nice amber color to it, very realistic color. Also notice the ditch lights. It does have lit ditch lights. They are lit through a light pipe, as is common on Kato N-scale locomotives. So they're lit from the single LED that also lights the headlight and the number boards. They're not independently operational, but a nice feature to actually see the ditch lights nonetheless, even without the operation. Nice looking locomotive, and now let's see it under operation. These are some great looking and great running locomotives, as we have come to expect from Kato N-scale, and these certainly do not disappoint. Now, it's always been true that Kato locomotives with Digitrax decoders will require a little bit of adjusting to get the kind of smooth running that you want as far as getting the speed tables adjusted are concerned. But that's just a matter of a little bit of tweaking with your DCC system, and is not uncommon with many locomotives and decoders that we would run today. The MSRP on the DC versions, as I looked at today, of these locomotives is $125, or they come Digitrax motor-only decoder equipped for $205, and on a special order, you can also get them equipped with ESU LokeSound decoders. You can contact your local dealer for that. I think these are fantastic looking locomotives, and if you are modeling in the late 90s or the early 2000s, especially if you're modeling Union Pacific, but also some of these other road names, these are some fantastic locomotives that you're really going to want to take a close look at. Now, the Union Pacific model and the Norfolk Southern that I looked at today came out in the end of 2020. We're still looking forward to the CSX model and the Southern Pacific model, which are due to come out in late first quarter 2021, so be sure and watch for that. Well, if EMD locomotives are your thing, I did a recent review of some SD70 Ace locomotives from BLI, and you can find that video in a link in the corner of your screen right now. Be sure to take a look at the description down below, where you're going to find a link to my Amazon page, my Amazon Pick of the Week, my Micromark promo code that'll save you 10% on regularly priced items at micromark.com, and tons of other great links. Also, be sure and check out that review of these locomotives in the April issue of Model Railroad News. Check them out at modelrailroadnews.com. Well, if you'd like to see some more Model Railroad content right now, check out the links on your screen. And be sure and join me each Tuesday as I bring you even more great Model Railroad videos. And I look forward to seeing you then. 10, Lizzie?